Bradford City continue their 2025-26 League One campaign with a home clash against Conor Horahan's Barnsley FC, and in today's video you're going to find out how both teams have gotten so far this season and what my starting level would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. But my team Bradford City, we currently sit second in the League One table. After 11 matches we've got 7 wins, 3 draws and 1 defeat, scoring 20 goals and also conceding 13, which leaves us on a positive 7 goal difference and 24 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a draw, a win, a win, a win and a loss. In terms of them last couple of matches then, on Tuesday we had a 5-1 victory at home to Everton FC's under-21s, where they did actually have a few first team players who played in this game. They had the likes of Dwight McNeil, they had Nathan Patterson. I think this left back was at Bayern Munich last season and played in the Champions League for Bayern Munich obviously, and it was a really good win for Bradford City. I think we made 10 changes coming into this game from our last match, which we'll obviously get onto in a moment, but you can only really measure so much against an under-21 side. I thought they were one of the better under-21s teams that we've played over the last couple of years, but 4-0 up just after 40 minutes, job done, very comfortable win for us in the end. Before that one, we had a 2-2 draw away at Rotherham United. To be 2-0 down away from home and come back and draw the game and get your equaliser pretty late on in the match and still be disappointed with the outcome goes to show that we missed a lot of chances in this game. Will Swan had a couple early doors, we had 1 or 2 other opportunities. Patterson had a decent one in the second half just before he did score in that one. So frustrating to come away from that game with only a point, but again in the context of Thursday night away at Rotherham, a bogey side for Bradford City, being 2-0 down and getting a point was not the end of the world. We also had a 1-0 win at home to Blackpool FC. Not the best performance in the world, certainly didn't feel like a match that had 25 shots in it, but the only goal of the game being scored by Josh Nerfill, who won the League One Player of the Month for September, and he obviously got a fair few in that month and obviously got the match winner in that one. We also had a 4-1 defeat away at Newcastle. It's Newcastle. They largely played their first team. I think the only first team players who didn't play in this match was Sandro Tonali, Nick Pope and Dan Burn. Pretty much every other first team player played for Newcastle, so a defeat was expected, but at least we managed to get ourselves on the score sheet. And we also had a fantastic 3-1 win away at Cardiff City. By this point in the season they hadn't conceded from open play all campaign, and obviously we get 2 from open play, 3 in total. On another day this game could have finished 6-7-3 to Bradford City. There was a lot of chances for both sides, but again a fantastic win for us, and this is just one of many brilliant results we've had so far this campaign. Hopefully we get another one this Saturday. Comparing it though to our opponents on Saturday, they currently sit 8th in the League One table. After 10 matches they've got 5 wins, 2 draws and 3 defeats, scoring 16 goals and also conceding 14, which leaves them on a positive 2 goal difference and at 17 points. Their last couple of matches then have been a draw, a loss, a win and a win. So recently been on a bit of a blip, but obviously haven't played for a while. Their last game was on the 4th of October where they were 2-0 up in the 87th minute away at Wickham and only ended up coming away from the game with a point. I think Barnsley are a team that are very good for 60-70 minutes, but they haven't quite got the squad depth. They've got an incredibly good starting 11, so I think as long as we're still in the game, even if we're only losing by a goal by 60-70 minutes, I think we've got the subs that can come on and change a game. I'm not sure you can really say that about Barnsley, despite them pretty much having a full availability, apart from Jallo, who's obviously a very talented winger, but it is obviously going to be a very tough game. You look at the players that they've got, the likes of Keeler Dunn, Cleary, Vickers, Phillips, Connell, you know, their forward options are amongst the best in the entire division. It's defensively where I think we could get them, and obviously they've got former Bradford man Jack Shepherd, who's probably their best defender. Before that game they had a 2-1 defeat away at Notts County, where they did actually go down to 10 men in that game, losing quite late on. Again, a lot of teams make a lot of changes for this competition. Obviously Bradford City, we do take it quite seriously, but looking at the Barnsley team, you probably say it's half rotated, half first team in there, and again even some of their fringe sort of players are still very good and should probably be doing better than a 2-1 defeat away at Notts County. They also had a 2-0 defeat at home to Port Vale. Barnsley didn't actually have a shot on target at home, which is obviously going to be very frustrating for them. They're certainly a team that like to dominate possession, which suits us to a T really. If they're going to try and play out from the back, all that sort of stuff, then I think our press will certainly work. We've won all 7 of our home games so far this campaign, and obviously I know Port Vale are a decent side, but that'll surely be a very frustrating result for them. They also had a 6-0 defeat at home to Brighton. This Diego Gomez scoring 4 goals in that game. Probably a man you've never heard of before, and Brighton will end up selling him to Chelsea for 100 million quid in 18 months' time. But as to be expected, when you're coming up against a Premier League side, you are probably going to get a bit of a tonking. Before that one, they had a 1-0 defeat away at Blackpool, losing that one in the 98th minute. From what I remember of this game, they were very good in the first half with Barnsley, but then just completely went off script really in the second half, and Blackpool eventually managed to find a late winner through Jordan Brown. And if I'm correct, that is 5 of their previous matches, so not been on a good run whatsoever in all competitions. They are now 5 games without a win. Let's try and make it 6. Before we do go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 150 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your score prediction and starting 11 for this game. Do you think Bradford City can make it 8 wins at home in a row in all competitions so far this campaign? Our last league loss was back in March. We've only lost twice, I think, since last October. In terms of my team then for this game, I would go with the 3-4-2-1 formation. It's quite hard to maybe say players who played poorly against Rotherham because that was so long ago, but then we had some good performances against Everton, but then again it's only an under-21 side, so I've tried to go with the best possible team for this game, as obviously that is what you want to play in these type of matches. But in goal, I would stick with Sam Walker. Obviously disappointing for Joe Hilton not to keep a clean sheet on Tuesday. Again, nothing that he can really do about the goal. Joe Wright just sticks it beyond him. He didn't really have much to do. There was the odd pot shot from distance from Everton, but that was about it. And again, Joe Hilton has gone through another match largely untested, so we don't really know much about him. But Sam Walker, on the whole, has had a really good start to the season. Maybe could have done a little bit better with Rotherham's first goal, but I think I'm maybe being a little bit too picky with that one, given how good of a start to the season that he has had. In terms of my back three then, obviously a couple of players unavailable for this game, but at right centre-back, I would go with Matt Pennington. Only joined back in on training on Monday, having missed out the previous week in training with a late concussion, so thankfully our game on Saturday against Lincoln was called off, because Pennington's had a great start to the season. I think when he's fit, when he's available, has to be a starter for Bradford City. In the middle, I would go with Tom McIntyre, obviously not included in the squad on Tuesday, but in his appearances so far away at Rotherham, he's probably man of the match. At home to Blackpool, he was very solid as well, and Barnsley are not really the most physical of teams. I don't think we're really going to need to go with a big physical back three. Maybe next week against Stevenage is where that will come in, but for this game I think Tom McIntyre could certainly do that job in the middle of the back three, as he has done in his last two appearances. And as my left centre back, I would go with Ibu Toure. Again, we've got a fair few centre halves now back available, the likes of Joe Wright, but I think recently he's made a fair few mistakes. Neil Byrne, not up to League One standards in my opinion, and Kieran Kelly, very inconsistent, and I feel like in a game like this could maybe struggle to deal with the tricky forward threats that Barnsley do have. So Toure keeps his place in the back three for me, but I think next week away at Stevenage, where you bring in your Joe Wrights, your Kieran Kellys, maybe even your Neil Burns, and just go with your strongest back three possible, because Stevenage from set pieces, they're going to be a threat, but Barnsley, they've got very different types of threats. They've got very nimble, tricky sort of players, and that's why I would go with that back three personally. In terms of my midfield four then, at right wing back, I would go with Josh Nerfil. Obviously came on off the bench on Tuesday and provided one of the two to be a pretty decent threat down at that right hand side. Wasn't great against Rotherham in all honesty, and I do think we've either seen some 9 out of 10 performances from Nerfil or some 4 or 5 out of 10s. I think he has been a little bit inconsistent so far this campaign, but if he can be consistently a 7 or an 8 out of 10, that would certainly be much better. But hopefully he can get back to his best once again in this game and prove why he is the League One Player of the Month. In terms of my two holding midfielders, firstly I would go with the captain, Max Power. I think whenever he's available, absolutely has to be in our team. We saw away at Rotherham, we massively missed him in that game, and I really hope that, not to affect his game too much, but if he is to get 10 yellow cards before, I think it's like the middle of February, for example, missing him for 2 matches would be massive for Bradford City, and that could potentially be season defining, because we saw away at Rotherham, I think the first goal probably doesn't happen if he's on the pitch. The second goal absolutely does not happen if he is on that pitch. We missed his leadership and organisation. I think in a game like this, where Barnsley have got some of the best midfielders in the division, we're going to need ours to be on their A game. So partnering him, I would go with Jensen Metcalfe. It's crazy how good our midfield options are, in all honesty, but I think again Metcalfe on Tuesday was absolutely outstanding, best player on the park for me, and I think we've seen it a few times so far this campaign. Yes, he's had the odd performance where he's been a little bit hit or miss, but from what I've seen of Jensen Metcalfe, Metcalf. I think he's a very good player there. Came on off the bench away at Rotherham and looked very promising in that game as well. And it's crazy not to have Alex Patterson in this starting 11. I'm a massive fan of Patterson, but we've got a lot of competition, and I'd much rather have too much competition really for places, or a lot of strength in depth, than a couple of years ago when we were relying on Theo Robinson and Tom Elliott to come on for Bradford City in certain positions of the park. So we've certainly come a long way. There's a lot of competition, whether it's Metcalf or Patterson. I don't really mind either way, but based on how well Metcalf played on Tuesday, I think he has now earned that start. And as my left wing back, I would go with Tariq Wright. Obviously, he's had, on the whole, a really positive start to this season. There's been the odd performance here or there where I don't think he was amazing. Again, both of the goals that Rotherham score, the first one is good play down Tariq Wright's side, and he kind of loses his man a little bit. The second one, he kind of switches off a little bit at the back post, and I think he's admitted himself in the pre-match for this game that it wasn't his best performance. But I think when you're playing Torre at left centre-back, Lewis Richards has only just come back from injury. You might not necessarily want to throw him straight in there. I think having Tariq Wright as the option in the left wing-back role, we've seen a few times this season, especially at home to Huddersfield, away at Cardiff. I think he was very good in those two matches, so he seems to get himself up for the big games. Let's hope he can get up for this one and hopefully get his first goal of the season as well. In terms of my front three then, firstly, as my right attacking midfielder, I would go with Anthony Sarcevic. Obviously up to 4 goals and a couple of assists so far this campaign, having obviously got the first goal back away at Rotherham. Didn't feature in the matchday squad on Tuesday, which is pretty understandably so. I think it was better to give some of the other players another opportunity, but I think if Sarcevic's available, especially at home, he is always pretty good for a goal, and he's certainly the type of man that will get up for these type of games. As my left attacking midfielder, obviously Bobby Poynton is a big doubt for this game, so I would go with Stephen Humphreys. Again, Poynton is a doubt for this one with a shoulder problem. You're playing Tariq Wright at left wing back. The next then most natural player to play as your left attacking midfielder is Stephen Humphreys, playing against his former side. I know Alexander's not going to play him as a left attacking midfielder, but for me, he's the player who fits the most in there. And I know Alexander said he's only going to play as a striker, but for the benefit of the team, I think it would be good to play Humphreys off the left. Obviously got a couple of goals and an assist on Tuesday, and certainly looked better. It looked more committed. You know, there was diving headers flying around in there, you know, putting his head in where it hurt, and I like what I saw from Humphreys. I think we certainly saw a reaction based on the frustration, I would say, that some people felt towards Humphreys after the Rotherham match that has obviously been building up for a little bit. But playing against his former club, he's going to be desperate to get a goal, and you have to play Humphreys off the left, because for me, Andy Cook absolutely has to be starting as that striker for Bradford City. Came on off the bench away at Rotherham, and again had a big impact. He single-handedly practically got us that assist, or got us that goal. He obviously assisted it for our equaliser away at Rotherham, and that's just the handful and the threat that he poses, and especially if they're going to play Earl at centre-half, who's naturally a left-back. Shepherd, not sure he's the most comfortable to deal with somebody like an Andy Cook, despite how good that Shepherd is. I think he could maybe struggle with Cook to deal with, and obviously you've got the likes of Kavanagh and Swan also available, so a lot of very good options all over the pack, really. You know, there's not really a position that we are too weak in all honesty, but I think that would be my starting 11 for this game. Let me know down below what you would change. On the bench then for me, that would leave Joe Hilton, Brad Halliday, Joe Wright, Alex Patterson, George Lapsley, Callum Kavanagh and Will Swan. The players currently unavailable for this game are Aidan Baldwin, who I think is back in some type of light training, Curtis Still, who's not back on the grass but he's ahead of his schedule, and obviously Bobby Poynton, who is a doubt for this game, unfortunately. So the players who miss out then through selection will be Zach Hadey, George Goodman, Neil Burnett, Kieran Kelly, Lewis Richards, Tommy Lee and Nick Powell. Again, maybe a few slightly controversial selections in there with no Lewis Richards in the squad, but if he's just come back from, I don't know, 8 months out, for example, if he's played 65 minutes on the Tuesday to now and have him involved again on the Saturday, I think that might be a little bit too soon for him. Tommy Lee had a really good start to the season, but last 2 league matches I don't think he's quite been at the races, at home to Blackpool and away at Rotherham, and with how well Patterson and Metcalf have been playing, they, unfortunately for Lee, do get the nod ahead of him. And then Nick Powell hasn't impressed me whatsoever so far, and obviously wasn't even included in the squad on a Tuesday, so not really too sure what is going on there. But I'm going to leave it there for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 150 likes as I mentioned at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your score prediction for this match and your starting 11 as well. Head over to more SHD to find out all of my score predictions for game week 13. Thank you all for watching, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all very soon for another one.